This is Andy Parole for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm absolutely unbelievable.
What makes you say that, Eddie?
I just feel great today. Obviously we had the media trip, then I flew to New York last week and I was sick. Like, I had this bug for 24 hours and I was sick. I had to somehow make it to the weigh-in and I was out on my feet. Now I feel unbelievable. I think I've dropped half a stone. I'm so handsome right now, it's unbelievable. And loads of travelling last week, but we're in Manchester, UK soil. Big show, November the 2nd, Manchester Arena. And good, ready to go. Great turnout, looking good.
Let's get into this card, Eddie. And first and foremost, we'll start off with the decision to put Katie Taylor versus Christina Leonard-Dutu, I hope I said the name right, as the headline event instead of obviously Anthony Crolla, this last dance, as it's been said over social media.
Just because Katie Taylor is probably one of the biggest stars in world boxing. Crolla, he's not going to be in a mega fight. May even put him last on the card because it'd be like some kind of emotional farewell. But Katie Taylor is, one of the biggest stars, global stars in the sport of boxing, unified lightweight world champion. I think it's a big moment for women's boxing as well, for her to headline a card. And to be honest with you, you've also got Joshua Buatsi, who's fighting an eliminator for the world title against Blake Caparello. Really, really tough fight. And you got, although it wasn't in question to headline, is Felix Cash against Jack Cullen, which is a brilliant Commonwealth middleweight title fight. In fact, I'll be honest with you, the card's unbelievable. I mean, who put it together? Oh, it was me.
Frank Smith?
Yeah, it was me, yeah. It probably was actually Frank Smith. Yeah.
On Katie, obviously she's stepping up to super lightweight. Yeah. There was a lot of fans who may have liked to have seen that Delphine Pursoon rematch. Was that ever?
No, you will see that. You will 100% see that. We've reached out to their team, looking to make that happen. We want to try and do that outdoors next spring, summer. So we're looking at options around that. She wanted to do something now. Everything that she does from now on has to be career defining or legacy inspired. This one is to try and become two-weight world champion with one eye on probably becoming two-weight undisputed champion. You've got Jessica McCaskill, who's got 2 belts, you've got a vacant belt and you've got this belt. So if these two can get the 2 belts, we do the McCaskill rematch for an undisputed, she becomes, or if she can beat Jess, two-weight undisputed world champion. So this is a different kind of challenge. Leonardo, you'll see today, big strong girl. Katie's fine at 135. It's just the challenge now of moving up. And of course, you saw Serrano in a great fight at the weekend. Taylor against Serrano, super fight of women's boxing. So that's another option. Pursoon is also a super fight. So there's so many monster fights for Katie. She had a good rest from June, and she's here today and looking great.
On to the rest of the card, Anthony Crolla. Any ideas to who you'd like to see? I saw some rumours that Tommy Coyle might be in the mix.
I don't think it'll be Tommy. We're trying to find a guy from the world rankings. We want to, I have to be completely honest and say, coming off the Lomachenko defeat, he's not going to be going in and fighting a Devin Haney or a Luke Campbell or these guys, but he wants a real fight, proper fight. It's his last ever fight. No ifs, no buts. And when you look back at the Manchester Arena, I'm actually not sounding soppy, but saying what I'm about to say, I can feel the hairs on my arms. When you go back to the John Murray fight, you go back to Darlys Perez 1, Darlys Perez 2, Barroso, which was just incredible, Jorge Linares 1, Jorge Linares 2, Ricky Burns. That's 7 epic fights at Manchester Arena this man has had. And this city has supported him non-stop. And the support has been incredible. So this is, not, we'll have one fight and we see how we get on. This isn't, I'll get back in the world rankings and then this is it. So we want to make sure we get it right. The occasion's got to be right. Manchester will come out, in their thousands to watch Anthony finish what has been an unbelievable career of probably the nicest man in boxing. And actually, there's 3 of the nicest people in boxing on this card: Katie Taylor, Joshua Buatsi, and Anthony Crolla. So it's it's a pleasure to promote this card.
When you consider the likes of Anthony Crolla, Tony Bellew who's retired, Cal Brook coming towards the end of the year, these guys have produced some great nights for yourself over the years and obviously their own careers. Does it kind of get you, not necessarily upset, but maybe make you wish that you could maybe have done more with them through their careers?
I mean, how could you have done more with Anthony Crolla? I mean, wow. This was a guy who was fighting for his career against Kieran Farrell for the English title. Then went Gavin Rees, John Murray, Darlys Perez 1, Darlys Perez 2, Barroso, Linares, Burns, Lomachenko. Oh, blimey. I mean, he's made a fortune And it couldn't happen to the nicer man. Talk about the other names. Tony Bellew. What more could you done with Tony Bellew? Got him a world title shot, defended it, fought David Hay twice, fought Usyk in an undisputed fight. So Kell Brook's still there, still going, and we want to try and give him some more defining nights as well. But what it does show you, which we've said in loads of interviews previously, is this is the time for the new guard. And even although Katie is in her 30s, she's still fresh as a daisy in the sport. She is that new guard. Joshua Buatsi is an absolute primary focus for us for Matchroom Boxing. He's going to be a main Saturday night headliner, and I believe a pay-per-view star as well. And all these younger guys coming through, now's the time to grab it by the scruff of the neck. Either stateside, if it's Devin Haney, all these guys. It's Luke Campbell. Chance for him off the back of the last fight to come out now and become a big British star. So Callum Smith to stand up and be the main British star. Billy Joe Saunders. We got to get firing now and realise that those other guys, they're either gone or they're going, and it's time for the new age.
You just quickly touched on Kell Brook there. What is the latest with him? We saw him team back up with Dominic Ingle now.
He's training, and he put on some weight, but that's coming off. I'm meeting Amir Khan next week. We have one more spin at that, and I think they both want to fight in December, but separately. And I think we should try and do that fight in the spring. And if I can't do it, maybe I just give up finally. But it's still a huge fight, and it's still a great fight, and it's still one that I would love to make. But we'll give it one more spin next week.
Does it still interest you that much, that fight?
Yeah, it always interests me because it's about, one, it's a good fight, two good fighters, but it's more about just, I see it from the inside. So I know the hatred, right? And people go, Hearn's just selling it. I know it, I see it. You have to understand, I've talked about this fight with both sides 1,000 times, right? No one wants to give anyone an inch. It's I'd rather not this fight didn't happen and give him anything. And it's guys. So next week we'll go again, as I've done 100 times, go, guys, last chance, come on. And we'll see.
Just go back to this card, Josh Buatsi, you mentioned in the final eliminator. Eliminator. Talked about Blake Caparello and the decision to fight him.
Because he's exactly what Buatsi needs. World ranked, very, very tough. He's on a good streak of winning fights. Only ever lost at the top level and been points with some hard punching, tough light heavyweights. And this is the guy that's really going to test Buatsi. Going to come to win, has taken this fight only to win, only to try and get a shot at a world title. This is the perfect fight for Joshua Buatsi. And this is that fight which we talked about between, where he's been boxing, Ryan Fords of this world, and the Bivols, no kind of guy. Caparello is right in the middle. And we're going to find out exactly where Buatsi is, and it's going to be a really good competitive fight against a very experienced, clever southpaw.
You mentioned Sullivan Barrera quite a few times in the past. Was that a considered name?
He's exactly the same as Caparello, in that, although the only thing with Barrera is he's coming off a lot of losses. But he's also a guy. We're not going to go. I'm not going to put Buatsi in with Dimitri Bivol after the Caparello fight. So Sullivan Barrera is another guy who should come before that test. But JB is going to be nice and active. So I believe this time next year we will be looking at a world title for Joshua Buatsi. But we've got to do it right. We've got to listen to the team, and I'll be advised of the pace they want to move. But Barrera is another guy who is perfect, and he's in exactly the same mould, in my opinion, in terms of ability as Blake Caparello.
Jack Cullen and Felix Cash. I've seen a lot of social media presence pointed towards yourself from Jack Cullen's camp. How easy a fight was that to make?
Probably a little bit more difficult after everybody saw Jack Cullen's last performance. John Harding Jr. boxed well, but Cullen, he's about 6'9". He's super awkward, loads of support, and fair play to Felix Cash. He stepped out, he went, I'll defend my title in Manchester. The support Jack Cullen has is crazy. He'll sell 500-600 tickets alone. But it's a really good fight, and I think it's the kind of fight that, as I say to both teams, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I want to find out who really has the ability to go on and not just win a British title, but to go on and maybe try and move towards fighting for the world middleweight titles and those kind of levels. It's much too early for these guys, but it does you no harm. Look at Anthony Fowler against Scott Fitzgerald. It really didn't do either fighter any harm. Fowler come back, beat Brian Rose. He's ranked in the world now. Scott Fitzgerald's become a little bit of a cult hero. He's fighting Cheeseman for the British title. They can fight each other again next year. It's a massive domestic fight. So people like Cash and Cullen, don't worry about taking chances. Your profiles aren't a Joshua Boazzi, aren't a Callum Smith, aren't it? So make it that. You know, it's like Fitz. Fitz had no profile really. Now all of a sudden he's like a bit of a legend in folklore of hardcore fans. So take that chance, roll the dice. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. You're young, you can come back. And I think Cullen against Cash, or Cash as be Cullen as it should be, it's just a brilliant, brilliant fight.
Moving right from his card, Eddie, as you mentioned, you was in New York, Haney Abdullayev. How impressive was Devin Haney?
Unbelievable, unbelievable. I mean, when you have a fighter that's got so much hype behind him, as a promoter, you're sort of, being honest, you're sort of half thinking, I hope he's as good as I think he is, and everyone keeps telling me. Because if this guy is, he's going to be massive. And obviously, it's funny because leading up to that fight, all week people were saying to me, do you know, I've been in camp with Abdullayev in the wild card, like, this kid can fight, this is going to be a tough fight. Devin Haney ices him in like 4 rounds. Like, yeah, well, Abdullayev's not all that anyway. So we understand, a bit like Joshua Boazzi, there's levels in between Abdullayev and Lomachenko, but look at how he's dealing with them. Like, if he would have struggled over 12 rounds and, you know, got hit a bit, but he made him look so average. And there's so many more levels to come from Devin Haney. I'm going to try and get him to the UK next week, actually, get him in front of you guys, because I think he's just like a superstar. He's 20 years old. He's 24-0, and you know he's mandatory to Lomachenko. Bob's already said he won't allow that fight, but we'll push, and hopefully Devin gets a shot at the world title at 135 soon, because he won't be around that long at 135. Big guy, you know, young, growing. So I want him to win that world title and move up, win one at light welter, and then welter as well, maybe even 154.
Michael Hunter featuring on that undercard as well, another impressive performance.
Yeah, he just keeps doing it, doesn't he? He's the little guy who goes in there. He's always undersized. He's always giving 3 or 4 stone away. And I think the public love him for that. You know, he's like the small guy going in, moving around, bang, running. You know, I mean, the Kuzmin, the knockdown was great. Thought he boxed really well. Kuzmin didn't stop trying, but he just couldn't deal with him. Couldn't deal with his speed, his movement. And, you know, Hunter against Povetkin is a fight we're looking at for Saudi. Hunter against Price is another fight we're looking at for Saudi as well. So, you know, you have to say that Hunter, you know, certainly one more win. He deserves a shot at the world title, so he's going well.
Just wanted to get your thoughts as well on Dave Allen of social media. Said that he's pulled himself off of the Newcastle card. How is Dave, and how did that discussion exactly play out?
He just messaged me and he said, look, my head's not there, I'm not training properly, I don't think I should fight. I'm pleased. He's actually made a sensible decision for Dave Allen. You know, before, because I can't live in these guys' pockets, unfortunately, all the time, or some of them at all, when he fights people like Bracamonte and comes out of the fight and says, I didn't even train. I'm like, Dave, what are you doing? Like, I told you about this fight 5 weeks ago. What do you mean you haven't trained? Oh, just... So that's when you got to say to yourself, I shouldn't fight, because it is dangerous. And even if you're having, you know, he shouldn't have really been fighting anyway. But he came on and he said, look, please let me fight in Newcastle. I don't care about the opponent. I just want an easy win. I just want to win. And I know, well, I thought I knew, that boxing makes him happy, right? When he's in training and when he's thinking about a fight and he's got a fight day, I believe that he's a happy person. So I sort of said, yeah, all right, Dave, look, you can go on that card. But then he's had actually the sense to come back and go, no, I'm not prepared. I shouldn't be fighting. And, you know, he needs some time off. He needs to realise what makes him happy. He lives in a social media bubble, doesn't he? He's on it all the time, right? He's Instagram living. He tries to reply to all the fans. You've got to sometimes just put your phone down and say, right, let me just get my head straight here. What's important, what's not? What do I love? What do I have a passion for? And what Dave has a passion for is mainly like teaching the young kids coming through, like his mate Danny and like those kind of guys, because he really has a passion for that. So if you don't have a passion for anything in your life, or you just flat all the time, it's very hard to get miserable or depressed. So you've got to find something that makes you get up every day. You've got to find something that is important to you. But really, you've got to keep life simple. You've got to live day by day, and you just got to understand 2 things that matter. One is love your family, and the other one is keep breathing. They're the only things that really matter. So, you know, I might get loads of stick, or I might do a shit show, a good show. Oh, Hearn's done this. Oh, fuck that, that's all irrelevant. Love your family, keep breathing, because nothing else matters. So what Dave's got to do is just park it all up and say, right, what am I doing here? Okay, good news is, financially I'm in a great place. I've got my houses paid for, etc. Now some people say, oh, it's better money again. No, but financial struggle plays a big part in mental health. Like, you can't ignore that, and depression. right? It's like a huge reason for suicides and things like that is that people hit a wall in terms of where they're going in their life financially. So that's out of his life, but that's not the important thing for Dave Allen. He's got to find something and focus his passion on something. Because at the moment, if you've got nothing to get up for, and I thought that him boxing would give him that passion and that lift, but now it's not. So now he's got to leave that. He shouldn't fight this year. Don't think about fighting. Train the kid. Get up there, focus on your properties that he's working on, stuff like that. Keep your mind busy, but live day by day. Right? What am I doing today? That's it. Just focus on that. Don't worry about anything else. But I think that the social media doesn't help in a situation like this, because you're living in this world that's not real, and you're getting criticism and stick, and I'm sure Dave gets 90% positive stuff on social media, but that 10% really magnifies when you're feeling down in the dumps. So he's just got to park it up and just focus on what makes him happy.
To move away from Dave, but stick with heavyweight division. This past weekend, Tyson Fury defeating Fury-Wallin with a unanimous decision victory. Did you catch the fight, Eddie?
I didn't, because I was on a plane coming back from the press conference in LA. So I landed, went straight onto the thing, and it was like, oh, good fight. Showed me the score, showed me Tyson's face. I was like, wow. I just think that when you're fighting that level of opposite, and I don't mean to be rude to Fury-Wallin, but he's not anywhere near as good as Tyson Fury. I just think you become demotivated. I don't know. I saw all the comments from John Fury. I don't know, whether there's unrest in the camp or what. But I think he'll be out for a long time with that cut. I doubt he'll make February. But what I saw was a good fight, and what I saw from the cut was lucky to not have a loss on his record, because it was a punch, and I think any other country in the world would have stopped that fight. And hopefully now he can focus on the bigger fights and make sure he boxes to the best of Tyson Fury's ability, which is very good.
What did you make of the criticisms put towards Ben Davison from John?
I don't know where it's come from, really. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I don't know Ben Davison. What I know is the fighters like him, which is part of the job, and the struggle to get the belief of a trainer. And Tyson's turned his life around, and Ben Davison's there while he's done it. So you've got to give him the credit. He must have done something. But again, I had no idea what's going on. Someone's not happy, but it's up to Tyson, isn't it? Tyson will know who is the best people for him to have around him.
You mentioned as well you don't see that fight taking place in February of a rematch with Deontay Wilder. In your opinion, how long do you think it will be till we could see it?
I'm not a doctor, but I mean, look, he ain't going to be able to spar for 10, 12 weeks, I don't know. So now you're talking about October, November, December, January, I don't know. But that's probably done everybody a favour, because Wilder ain't going to be ready for February either, because he ain't even announced his fight yet, November 23rd. They can't even get the money together for that. So God knows what's going to happen. But, I think Tyson will be much better for those kind of fights than he would for a fight that he's trained hard for, but just not giving him the buzz that the bigger fights do.
Now, to talk about one of Tyson's friends, Billy Joe Saunders, you promote him. He's come out, and he hasn't come out, but it's came out that he's going to team back up with Dominic Ingle. What are your thoughts with regards to that, at least for this camp, at least?
Yeah, look, Dom's a great trainer. I think the best performance of Billy Joe's career was against David Lemieux, when Dom was in his corner. Again, I don't know the situation with Ben Davison. He's another good trainer. Say Billy Joe trains himself, but Billy Joe's a genius. So, he just needs the guidance. I think more with Billy Joe, he needs that geezer to put a rocket up his arse every now and again. And Dom's very good at that, because he's done it with Kel for years. So just keep him motivated, keep him focused. His fight will be announced this week, and then he'll have another fight in the spring, and he'll be nice and busy, nice and motivated.
We know that he's on that KSI Logan Paul undercard. Gabe Rosado seems to be a name that's been floated about a lot.
He's in the mix. It's a good fight. One, it's a good fight, but two, I like the fight from an American point of view. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, Billy Joe's a Brit. We've got to build his profile over there. It'd be good to fight an American. And Rosado's a good name, and I know he'll give 110%. And to be honest with you, I didn't think it would be Rosado, and it might not be, but the division, when you look at the rankings, very thin, the WBO rankings. So Rosado's not even in the rankings. He's in WBC rankings. So there's about 3 or 4 guys being considered.
I remember before seeing some comments saying that you said that he wouldn't necessarily be Gabe Rosado, you wasn't necessarily keen on that name, the change of heart, where's that come from?
I didn't expect him to fight Gabe Rosado. You know, he coming off a loss to Selecki. He's been plaguing me to take the fight. And I just started looking at the potential opponents and thought, you know what? I know what I'm going to get from Gabe Rosado. But again, it's not, you know, by any means done right now, but he's definitely on a short list.
We've mentioned he's on that KSO Logan Paul KSO Logan Paul fight night. You was at that press conference, just talked about some of the exchanges up there. It's very different to what we're used to.
Very different, and you have to sort of take it with a pinch of salt and realise that, you know, I'm in a world where normally I've got two guys where if you say that kind of stuff to each other and you get as close as they do with their heads, no one's leaving the stage without going over. Do you know what I mean? And these guys, another world. I mean, just I've met KSI before, but meeting Logan Paul, the guy's a genius. Like, these people, Andy, they're so clever with what they do. I'm not talking about it from a boxing perspective. I'm just talking about from a marketing, from a digital point of view. I know it's going to bore people, but when you think that press conference had nearly 700,000 people watching live, just on their YouTube channels, right? I think it's done 10 million, right, as we stand here today. It's frightening. You know, when you look at, I don't know, boxing numbers, I mean, the Frank Warren's BT show on Saturday did 24,000 average audience. 24,000. I could do more on my Instagram live account, right? So this new world that we live in, you have to embrace it. Now, we've gone well over the top and we're embracing it in a weird way, in a quirky way. I have to say, at times during this press conference, I was thinking, what the fuck's going on here? This is just mental. But I'm looking at the people and I'm thinking, you're all here to watch these two in a boxing match. You've never watched boxing before, have you? Like, I could have gone around the whole crowd. I don't know, I mean, there's like 1,000 people there, right? I could have gone around that whole crowd and asked them, have you ever watched boxing before? No, you know, etc., etc. So, and you know what? They got off the stage and they got mobbed. And those 1,000 people are all there, and I walked right through the 1,000 people. And you know what? No one said a word, right? No one asked for a picture. No one knew who I was. But isn't that good news? Like, can we not grasp that? So we just got to make sure that we realise what this is, and we almost take it with a pinch of salt, understand that it is a professional fight with no head guards and dangerous, like, respect them for that, but also understand it's almost a bit of fun. It's almost an experiment to see where this is going to go and what's going to happen, because I don't know where it's going to go. Like, one thing I know is it's huge, but how huge? Does it change boxing? Do we retain the audience? That's up for us. You can't just be that pessimistic to say, well, I know everyone's going to be watching, but no one's going to convert to boxing after. Well, isn't that our job? To try and make them convert to boxing? And shouldn't we at least be trying? What are you going to do? Just say, no, the audience is the audience, and let's not try and grow it. So I think it's a real quick, smart way to see if we can make something work like that. Might not work. They might watch boxing and go, no, I don't like boxing, but I bet they don't. Like those 700,000 people watching the press conference live, or 10 million who have watched the press conference. So if all of a sudden, if 1%, 100,000 people suddenly go, what's this boxing? Oh, click here, Matchroom. Oh, what's this? Devin Haney. Oh, isn't that good for everybody? So, you know, it is madness though. I mean, I was thinking to myself, what the fuck's going on here? But huge.
Shock to the system not being recognised for walking through.
Nice though, nice. But again, just shows you they're not boxing fans. You've got, and hopefully now they come on, they start listening to me, Matchroom, looking at our fighters, going to our shows, and that's how it works.
Finally, before I do let you shut off, because I know we're about to start, I know you can see Joe Gallagher today. Have you had a word with him about Callum Smith?
No, I'm dealing with Callum Smith. You know, obviously I've had a number of conversations with Callum, meetings with Callum with Liverpool last week, and we'll announce his fight date shortly.
Again, thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.